my gosh, you guys, the very last declutter video, I did slow down all of this footage. I saw y'all's comments and a lot of you guys said that it felt pretty fast last time. First ColourPop palette I decluttered to me. I didn't use the shadows, and I have a few that I've made. Then we have a Motive Cosmetics. This is the Dynasty palette, and you'll see whenever I finally get it open. These eyeshadows are just not really like the colors I go for, so I decided to get rid of that. Next, we have the Makeup Geek in the Nude palette, I believe. I love this palette. So pretty, so great for everyday use, and I decided to keep it. We have another ColourPop one, which I love. You'll see I like literally jerk it out of Aaron's hands because I needed that in my life. NYX Cosmetics is one I decided to declutter. Just don't use those eyeshadows. And then this was a BoxyCharm like exclusive palette. Really pretty formula, but I decided to declutter it because I just don't see myself grabbing it as much. This Urban Decay Kristen Leanne palette, I actually did not like this. I felt like some of the shades were really hard to work with and hard to blend and not super pigmented. At least that was my experience. Then we have the Profusion Cosmetics. Now this is a beautiful palette, and I've really enjoyed their palettes in the past, but I hadn't used it, and so I decided to just do a declutter of it so I can give it to you guys. This ColourPop palette, you guys know I love ColourPop palettes, but I'm trying to get a way of keeping like every single one, and I feel like some of these have cooler undertones, so I decided to just go ahead and declutter it. That was hard. Makeup Forever Starlit palette is really pretty, but I just don't see myself grabbing these shades as much, so I decided to go ahead and put it in the declutter pile. It's really hard rewatching this and reliving this declutter because I'm doing a voiceover. Then we have a palette from Smashbox that I actually had not used, so I decided to again declutter it. I don't want anything in my collection that I don't grab for. This one right here, definitely a keeper, very warm tone shades. And then the next one from ColourPop, and these are all like the make your own palettes. These are all just colors I don't see myself using, and it's going to get decluttered. This Ciate London was a holiday palette. I really like the formula, but I've had it for a little bit and I don't grab for it often. Then we have another ColourPop one that I also got rid of. This one looks very similar to that last one, and again, some of the shades are a little bit cooler tone, so I decided to just go ahead and declutter it. You can see the ColourPop ones I'm like even slower on. Then we have this Oakland Glowing palette. Now this palette is very different as far as the color range. I believe it was supposed to be like a replica of an Anastasia palette, but I just don't like it. The Fortune palette by ColourPop. Now I love warm tone shades. Love this palette, so it's definitely a keeper. But if you watch my other like 1 and 2 series, I did get rid of the cool tone. Then we have a Pixie by Petra palette. I honestly don't believe that I had used this just for swatching, and you know, I'm just trying to be very picky over what I kept, so I got rid of it. A Fiona Styles eyeshadow palette. I don't even know if Fiona Styles is being sold anymore, but I decluttered it. Then we have another Pixie by Petra palette, and this one is one that I don't think I had used also. I, had gotten so overwhelmed by all the palettes that I had, and that's why this declutter was so necessary. I can't wait for you guys to see what I actually kept because it's very minimal. Then the Dose of Colors Browns palette. I love this. The formula is a little bit powdery, but it blends so easy and it's very pigmented. Then we have a Ciate London. I remember this was like on Sephora, like on a sale, and I ended up getting it, and I just didn't love the color palettes. And then we have a Jouer. I just don't see myself really using this palette. The formula is nice, but not something that I love. Like, it's not my top 10 or anything. And then this one from ColourPop, I decided to declutter. I just don't see myself grabbing it, and it's more of like a kid palette, because it's the My Pony. Then Laura Lee palette I got rid of. The neons have to go. Kat Von D, I've had this one for quite a while and don't use it, and I didn't really love the formula. And then the On the Run palettes, are very smaller palettes, good for travel, but I did decide to get rid of them. The Marvelous Mauves, another Dose of Colors that I love. It's definitely a keeper. Oh, sorry for the yawns, you guys. The Naked 2 palette by Urban Decay. You can see I've gotten so much use out of this, but I haven't gotten use out of it in a while, so I had to declutter it. This one, I I didn't like anything about it. Let's just be honest. I'm being very cutthroat in this video because things had to go. I love Jeffree Star palettes. I feel like his formula is so, so good. I definitely kept this one. And then the very next one that we have is the Kevyn Aucoin Electric Pop Palette. This one's really nice just to like throw in some fun metallic shades, so it definitely got kept. Then we have a random one from Pure Cosmetics, which I just didn't think I needed. I just never really grab it, and some of those shades are a little bit cooler. And then we have one from Bretman Rock collection. Now this collection was with ColourPop, and I will say it did take me a little bit to get this open, I believe. So the fact that I even like slowed it down is going to make it even longer. These colors are really nice, but I feel like I have them in other palettes, so it wasn't something that I like had to keep. Then we have another On the Run palette that I decided to declutter as well. The next up, we have a Laura Mercier, and I got this in an influencer box, and I just do not like the formula of this palette, so I decided to let it go. Estee Edit, love this, but they're not colors I reach for anymore. I feel like my color story that I love has changed. Then the Naked Smoky, you can see one of the eyeshadows was like completely crumbled. I like this palette, but I just feel like there's so many Naked palettes that I only wanted to keep the ones that I like love, 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 and I never use this one, so it had to go. The Kristen Leanne, this one's a highlight palette, and I decided to get rid of it. The shades are okay, but I just don't feel like they're anything that's like, oh my gosh, I have to have it. The Nubian by Juvia's Place is a beautiful palette. Really great, really blendable. But you guys, I had to let things go. So it wasn't one that I like always grab for. Not that it's not good. I just don't reach for it. Then we have a one by Kevyn Aucoin, which is a newer one. And these shades I love, so I decided to keep it. Next we have a Becca Cosmetics. Now this is actually a blush palette. It's really great for travel, and I love Becca blushes, so it was definitely on the keep list, as you can see. Then we have this Biker Babe. I don't know what brand this is from, but I decided to declutter it. Velvet 59. Then we have a Too Faced palette. You guys, I love this Too Faced palette. That one purple shade, like 3 over on the left, it is so beautiful on the lids. Like, I love it. I'm so obsessed. Then a Tarte lip palette. I just decided I do not enjoy the Tarte formula for eyeshadows. So, you know, at the end of the day, if I'm not using it, I'm not keeping it. So I decided to let it go. The colors to me sometimes are just very mute, and they're not like anything that I'm like blown away by. This On the Run palette I didn't see myself using. So again, I decided to declutter it as well. All right, next we have the Anastasia palette. I cannot remember what the name of this one is, but I just don't love the color scheme, so I decided to let it go. Some of these things I bought just for review. So the Tarte little mini palette, again, decided to get rid of Tarte palettes. Then we have another Kylie Cosmetics. I really like this palette, but I just never use it. Really good formula. Then we have the Jouer palette. This is not something I can see myself using like on the daily. The colors are just super matte and just not colors I always grab, so I decluttered it. Another one, I didn't like the formula of this one, and then also I did not like the colors. Then we have a Naked Collection palette. I'm pretty sure I got this in a BoxyCharm. These colors are like really different. Not something I'm normally going to wear, so I decided to let it go. Then we have another Morphe palette. This one's like such a random color scheme. I'm not sure the name of it, but it got decluttered, and I don't even know what was all on the outside. Then this Pure Cosmetics palette. This is, I can't remember, maybe their artist palette. I really like the shimmers in this. They're really nice, and you have like a highlight shade, but I let it go. Then we have the Artist palette by Anastasia. These are shades that I do not reach for, and I have a ton of Anastasia singles too, and some of those are repeats in some of those eyeshadow palettes. Then the Violet Valse, I really like this, but I decluttered it. Then we have the Zodiac palette by Kathleen Lights. I actually haven't gotten use out of this, so I decided to keep it. That way I can continue like trying to use some of the shades. I have used a few of them, but just not all of them, so I decided to keep it. Then next up we have the Irresistible palette. I cannot remember if I like this one, honestly. I know I got rid of it, but I do not have any thoughts right now. It's like I completely went mind blank. The Tarte Rainforest of the Sea palettes are always nice, but I just don't love the Tarte formula. I feel like that formula, like, to me is better than the Tarte's palette for some reason, but I just don't love them. Then we have another Morphe palette. This one was the Jaclyn Hill. I worked so hard to get this, like 3 computers at the crack of dawn, but I decided to let it go. It had been time, and I never reached for it. Then we have another Morphe palette. Again, I told you guys in the last video, spoiler alert, is that I got rid of all the Morphe palettes. They're nice, but they're just like so bulky. The only one that I kept is the Jaclyn Hill palette, and I don't even know where it was in this video. I think it might have actually been in like another room or something. I'm not really sure. So anyways, the very next palette is going to be, well, did I want to keep this? Oh, I kept it. Just kidding. That was the only one that I kept. Sorry, guys. I totally lied. Then we have another one that I definitely got rid of. That one looked really similar. Like, I think I had 2 of those because I already got one that looked just like this. And I don't know why we were holding that for so long, but that one was definitely goodbye. Then we have this one, Cool Tones, and I didn't really like the formula. It's a crown brush. Then we have the Vizart palette. This is the Grand Pro Volume 1. Oh my gosh, I love Vizart palettes so much. The formula is so good. But I never reached for this palette. So Aaron told me I couldn't keep it. Then we have another one from Smashbox. This one is actually really pretty, but it's just not something that I use. So I decided to let it go. Then we have the QAF ColourPop palette. I love this one, you guys. It's such a really pretty warm tone formula. It looks a lot like the Sunrise or Sunset by Natasha Denona. Then we have another one from Ciate London that I just did not like the shades. And then we have a Tartelette in Bloom palette. You already know what's about to happen to the Tartelette. It's going to get swiped right and no longer be in my collection. At this point, you guys, like, this took so long. I have, like, can't even explain. Okay, Blushing Berries. I hate that the left side's cracked. That's like the other one. There's 2 that did that because the formula is so, like, delicate, but I kept it. Then this is the ColourPop palette I was telling you guys. This is like my #1 ColourPop palette. I know it may not look like anything special, but it is my all-time favorite. As you can see, there's a second one because I have 2 of them. I literally bought multiples. I think I bought like 4 or 5 because that pink shade is like my favorite, and I love the warm tones of the browns. I think I got rid of one because I decided I didn't need multiples, but I love. This is a Makeup Forever from Holiday Collection, maybe last year or the year before. And I have a lot of Makeup Forever single shadows, so I decided to let it go. But really good formula. I love Makeup Forever. Then we have a Becca Cosmetics eyeshadow palette. This is not something I reach for. The shades are okay, but it's just not something that I'm like going to grab for often and I don't really use. So that one got decluttered. Then we have the Volcano Goddess. Another one that got decluttered. I think their formula is really nice. It's just these palettes had been in my collection and I didn't like grab for them often besides like when I reviewed them. So then we have a Glamour Dolls, which I got rid of. Glamour Dolls has a really good bronzer formula, but I just do not love their eyeshadow formula. Then we have a little Vizart, little mini. I can't remember. I think I got this in like a Beautylish box. So normally I wouldn't like splurge on like a little mini palette like this, and I decided to let it go. And it's brand new, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I had ever used it. What a sad day. Okay, this video is kind of making me have some regrets here. Okay, so after that one got decluttered, the next one that we're going to be looking at is the Petite Heat. I have the Naked Heat in like the normal size, so I did not think that it was necessary to keep the big size as well as the small size because I'm pretty sure the shades are repeated from the big one to the little one, so I decided to get rid of it. Then we have the Venus 3 palette from Lime Crime. These colors are absolutely gorgeous in this palette, very up my alley, but I hadn't used it, and I know I had it in my collection for quite a while, so I went ahead and decided to declutter it. Then we have the BoxyCharm Pure palette. This was a BoxyCharm exclusive and really pretty, but I just do not like the formula. And yeah, so I don't know what we are giving a thumbs up for, but here we go. In most of these declutters, you probably won't be seeing me much because we look terrible, but I feel like I definitely got rid of way more than what I kept. As far as that goes, I feel like I'm at the point where I'm just so overwhelmed that I really needed to be cutthroat and get rid of a lot of palettes that I knew could go to a better home, whether it's friends, family, donations, whatever. I'll just give you like, you know, a little overview. This is kind of the bin that I kept. Now, let me just say this. I know this is probably more than what I need. Whenever we go and we start organizing my makeup collection, putting everything back, I may even declutter even more than that. So the pile on the right here, that is one box that is completely stuff that I'm getting rid of. In the corner to the back is also more eyeshadow palettes. So, but yeah, I feel like we definitely got rid of a lot. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, little declutter series, and definitely more to come.